Okay, now it's 9:30. Um, shall we start? So,
Absolutely.
yeah, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the SNAC meeting. This meeting will be chaired by Darren remotely and myself on site. Um, First, note well, by participating in the IETF, you agree to follow the IETF's process and policies. You're aware that your written text, video, whatever might be public. You will ITF will handle your personal information according to the privacy statement. Note very well. These open, constructive environments where people are expected to behave professionally and discuss with your participants or other colleagues respectfully. Some meeting tips. Make sure you sign into the session via the date tracker, or scan the QR code. Use Mateo to join the mic queue, participating in the show of hands. So if you join remotely, make sure that your audio and video are off unless you are sharing or you want to present something. Use a handset is strongly recommended. So here's today's agenda. Some agenda dashing. Then we will have a presentation from Matthew to talking about the SD device on the infrastructure. Followed by our usual working sessions, will be led by Ted. And afterwards, we'll try to see whether it's possible to agree on some kind of interims between 1 to 3 and 1 to 4.
And schedule them.
Yeah. Any comments, remarks?
Given that the editing session might be sort of unbounded, do you think we should discuss the interims first, like as number 3 instead of number 4?
Okay. No problem. We will do it right after Matthew's talk. Yeah. Okay, great. Let's move to the next. Try to see how can I share my slides. Okay.
Good morning. I'm Matthew. I work for Silicon Labs. This is my first draft and IETF meeting, so bear with me if I don't know all the tidbits and information around this. So this is the presentation for full DNSSD service on infrastructure. Just to give a bit of an overview of the presentation is, again, why the solution, a definition of what we mean by the full DNSSD service, and then how we can leverage this infrastructure solution. For a bit of context of where this was coming from, this came out of a conversation I had with Ted a while back now, where Silicon Labs as an end device provider does Wi-Fi stations that would be able to provide, would be able to benefit from having this solution from a power efficiency perspective. Next slide. So why this solution? First of all, it reduces the impact of MDNS on the network. It reduces the usage of MDNS, thus improving reliability for Wi-Fi devices. It improves battery performance since we don't need to rely on MDNS. And it reduces the overall congestion by reducing multicast. Second point, it enhances the SNAC router by adding features to it and making it available as an infrastructure device to benefit other devices on the networks. And if there's an infrastructure device that provides it, a bit like a C router, then the SNAC router can offload those services to that other infrastructure. And finally, it enables service discovery on non-adjacent links, which improves the overall functionality of the network. Next slide. Next slide. Yes, sorry. So what we mean by a full DNSSD service, it's composed of four elements. First of all, it's composed of the DNS zone in which the DNSSD information will be stored. The second point is it provides an SRP service, which it can be used to add and update services in the DNS zone. The third element is it support the advertising proxy. This is necessary in terms of a transition phase while, as long as there are devices that rely on MDNS to do discovery and advertising, we need to have this to enable backwards compatibility to some extent. And finally, it's composed of the discovery proxy for the same reason as the advertising proxy, to make sure that it can discover devices that rely on MDNS to be discovered. Next slide. How do we discover this service? How is it advertised? We decided to use the router advertisement as a means to discover if the service is supported by a CE router or a SNAC router. And through this RA advertisement, we can differentiate when we're talking about infrastructure versus non-infrastructure by using the router lifetime. This simplifies the process in terms of discovering the service because we don't need to execute any extra operations. The router advertisement is already done as part of the network maintenance. And for non-router devices that want to advertise that they do support these services, then we have to rely on MDNS for users to discover the services. And as a point of clarification, we're not going to rely on the SRP specific advertisement, just in case there are devices that do support SRP without being a full DNSSD infrastructure device. This is a backup slide, a bit of the state machine around how the device can discover the services, and we can use it if need be in the conversation. Thank you. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Were there any, this is a pre-Rev 0. So any questions, please come to the mic. Looks like Eric.
So Mathieu, you may want to go back in the front if you don't mind. No rotating tomatoes, right? Don't worry, at least from me. So Eric Vink, I am the responsibility for this SNAC working group. That's kind of interesting. I somehow missing really how you do it. And what would be interesting, do you intend to propose a draft on this?
For the draft,
to document somehow?
Telemann. Yeah, so I just submitted the -00 individual draft that describes this, and it goes into a fair amount of detail about this, although we haven't actually described the RA option yet. I will say that that Bob actually asked, like, well, can we just use the RDNSS option? And the answer is sadly no, we'll have to define a new RA option because this isn't just an RDNSS service, although it is an RDNSS service in principle. But yeah, so this is basically solving this big like problem that we had here. You know, we talked about in the advertising proxy document, and then we ripped it out because it made the advertising proxy document stupidly complicated. And then we talked about doing this as sort of a follow-on, you know, SNAC complicated. So this covers most of the stuff that would be in, you know, the follow-on SNAC simple, the follow-on to SNAC simple. It's not everything, but so that's why the reason it's here is because it's totally relevant to the SNAC use case. It might actually progress in DNSSD though, not here. That's a question we'd have to answer. What does she have to do with it? Six-man, really?
I don't know. Honestly, I'm missing a lot of pieces.
Fair, yeah. So I mean, this is really like DNSSD though, so it'd be a little weird to do it in six-man. I don't know. The RA bit, I think six-man has to review the RA option, obviously, but I think that's kind of like the simplest part of this. Hi.
Jump in. Jen Linkova, a six-man chair. We do have a problem clearly that everything which requires a single bit in IPv6 comes to six-man, but I think it would be nice that if we just review proposals, but not necessarily adopt and like being home for every single draft which requires that. because sometimes we just do not have an expertise for the problems that bit or option or whatever is solving, right? So we're definitely happy to talk about bits and giving you bits, but we don't necessarily have to be do the whole work on it.
Thank you, Jen. David wrote that in the minutes.
Hi, Esko Dijk here. I think what was said before, yeah, it's indeed applies. So it could go partly into the DNS SD working group, and there seems also to be a clear SNAC relation. So let's take a look at that, where it should belong. And the other question I had, so it's basically using the RA to kind of advertise the presence of this particular service that you were describing, right? So, so this could be with a bit, and I think you mentioned also lifetime in the RA lifetime in the slide. So that part was not fully clear to me. So do you need to express anything in the lifetime, or could you just have a particular bit to advertise this service basically on a link?
From my understanding, the lifetime is really just used to differentiate between an infrastructure and a non-infrastructure device that's supported. If I take a concrete example between a standard router versus a SNAC router, the SNAC router advertises a non-zero lifetime. The opposite? Zero. It advertises zero. So sorry if I get mixed up on that front, but okay, using the lifetime allows us to differentiate between both, so we can give a priority based on that to the infrastructure router, which is why we're using the life cycle here.
Okay, yeah. So the zero was indeed the the default route lifetime, which is because SNAC router doesn't offer a default route; it's always zero. Okay, yeah, that plays a role somehow. But maybe if you have some particular services to advertise, and you don't want to do it with multicast MDNS, for example, you could advertise with multicast like, hey, here is an SRP registrar service on this link and on this address. So you could do it that way, but I can imagine maybe there are reasons not to do it with MDNS, but rather in the RAs, which you send anyway, which is then more efficient to have a bit there that says, okay, I offer this service.
I think that was the RA conversation came up this week when bringing face-to-face. Using the RA, like you said, is just, it avoids doing the extra operation. So for constrained devices, since they receives RA naturally, it makes it easier for them to discover these services.
Yep. Okay, that's clear. Thank you.
François Michel. So thank you for the presentation. It's really clear the problems that it solves. The only thing that I have in mind is that in the case where the SRP register is separate from the home router, we now have a new single point of failure. So if at some point the SRP register gets shut down or something like that, then if we don't use MDNS anymore, then it's pretty much broken. So it's nothing that we cannot solve, of course. We can still use MDNS as a fallback. We could think of, I don't know, the SRP replication draft. But yeah, we just maybe want to keep that in mind.
The idea here is, you're right, if we just rely on the SRP registrar, it does create a single point of failure. That's why if the device doesn't detect the service or doesn't detect the service at all, it falls back on MDNS to still be discoverable. And then if during standard operation it detects either the RA with the bit selected or an MDNS advertisement of the existence, then it can transition to those services. But at the end, if it doesn't find anything suitable, it does use MDNS.
So Telemann again, I just wanted to add a couple things because I was just working on this particular issue as I finished getting the document ready to submit. A couple things that you and I talked about this a bit, but as I was actually writing the text, I realized we missed some things. One is it's possible for there to be more than one infrastructure router, and we have to account for that. Because generally we want to just pick one, but if we have multiple infrastructure routers, how do we know which one's the right one to use? The conclusion I came to in the document is register with both if you're doing SRP, otherwise just use whichever. But obviously we need to discuss that. I'm not sure that this is the place to discuss it, but maybe it is. And then regarding fallback to MDNS, one thing to clarify is that in addition to the RA, we also make the service available by advertising it on MDNS, so you can discover it that way. Because maybe your device that's doing this service isn't a router and doesn't send router advertisements. But in any case, we do need the SRP client, the customer of this service that's doing discovery, for example, to notice when the service goes away and fall back to plain old MDNS. So it's not just, we start, if we don't find it, we do MDNS. It's also, if we find it and we're happy, everything's going great, but then it stops going great, we also still have to fall back to MDNS again. So that's, we do need to describe how that process happens. And I think that's, if we're doing DNS push, for example, for the discovery side of things, then you'll notice that the thing has fallen away because the connection will break. So yeah, we'll see.
Tim Winters, QA Cafe. So when you presented, I think I caught that you want this to work on CE routers and SNAC routers was the intention. So oddly enough, 7084 CE routers doesn't have any text about DNS SD at all. So I think there's something to think about here and what we want to do about CE routers doing DNS services. I think maybe we should at least acknowledge that it exists, that draft is open right now. So I think we might want to do something there. This obviously isn't far enough along for us to include it in that biz, but I think we should also acknowledge that they might be running DNS SD services. But your intention is to have this running in regular edge routers for sure.
I'll let Ted answer since it's stood up.
So right now, I don't think we have a plan for adding this to the CE router document as a requirement. Maybe we could. There is some discussion about maybe doing this in Matter as part of the Matter router requirements, which are a little bit more demanding. But personally, I feel like we should be demanding the same thing. So like, I think we talked about adding PCP as a requirement.
That's in there.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it would be great to get this into a follow-on. I don't think there's a big rush because this is going to be a learning process. As you can see, there are people here who are planning on actually deploying this, and so we'll learn something from that. And having learned that, then we can do a BIS or a TUR, whatever, for yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my instinct at this point would be to put it in as a may and just say, hey, routers may support DNS SD, and then when we go to Revit again, we'll have more time. I mean, we say nothing about it now is my real concern.
So the problem with that is that this draft, I mean, I'd like to finish this quickly. It'd be great if we got this to RFC by the end of the year. But given that that's probably not going to happen, just based on past track records, I think trying to put this into a document that you want to publish this year is not a good idea.
I was just thinking general DNS. Just that service may exist.
But that you don't have a thing. You don't have a description of that service. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Philip Diesel, SAP. I think this is great stuff, but I'm still thinking whether there are more use cases. And I think one is also the enterprise use case, where you may have edges like Apple TV sitting in some meeting rooms, where you want to have some MDNS stuff running, but in the end, you want full control over it. And an SRP service could be a good vantage point to put the stuff you want to publish, and afterwards have all the magic of the network filtering it to a way that's acceptable for the enterprise. And I think this could also be a nice use case on it.
Yeah, that's actually why I think this is relevant here, because for the SNAC complex use case, we want to weave our SNAC router into the infrastructure rather than having it just sit there and kind of do its thing, especially the infrastructure in an enterprise case might be doing RA guard. So then the SNAC router doesn't work at all. So having a way to discover this gives us an avenue to make that all work. There may be a little bit of additional glue that's required for the whole routing infrastructure bit, which I don't think, we're not talking about routing in this document, but this is definitely a piece of that solution.
But I also think having SRP as a registration protocol in general, even for the non-SNAC use case, really makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's right. And that's, so the infrastructure service, like if you're in an enterprise setting, then your enterprise, like your routers can set the bit. And actually this is a good reason. So we could say that if the bit is set, whatever the RDNSS option contains is also your SNAC service unless otherwise specified, or it's not your SNAC service, your DNS, full DNS service. And then basically all of the routers in the infrastructure just set the bit, and the SRP registrations go to the RDNSS address, whatever that is. And so that's also controlled by the operator. And then, yeah, it all just works. Yep.
All right. That's our 15 minutes. Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of discussion that's going to happen on the list in the next few weeks. So we look forward to that. Ted, if you can send that draft out to the list too, the pointer to it, we'd all appreciate reading it. And Matthew, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, great. So we are on time. So based on the request from Pat, let's for the next agenda item, let's discuss about the date for the intern sessions. So Darren, do you have something to propose?
Yeah, I was. Let me see if I can figure out how to do a quick show of hands. Let's see, late. All right, we'll start a quick show of hands here. Late August for interim 1. Do we have folks who will be able to participate in that? I'm going to suggest August, and then mid-September and October.
Sorry, late August, meaning only August, not September? I didn't understand.
This is proposal number 1. So
Okay.
I'm gonna throw out a few of them here, and we're gonna see what
Okay.
see what we get on the poll. Okay. All right. So we have a few in favor or no. Ted's gonna come up and let us know his vacation schedule.
Well, so actually, I don't have a real problem. Like whenever we schedule this, my vacations are pretty loose right now, but it is sort of the European summer stop. And so,
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Esco, do you have a sense of when we can feel safe that that's over? Or are we just kind of like in it until September? September is safe.
Okay.
Okay.
That's the next question. So the next question then is, so that rules out August. So September, we'll schedule one in September. As far as an exact date goes, we'll put 2 out to the lists during this next part of our meeting. We'll send that out. And folks who hope to contribute to that meeting, please let us know a preference on the 2 dates, and we'll get it scheduled in September, hopefully very soon.
So I would actually suggest just scheduling one a week in September, and we can always cancel them. But if we don't schedule them, then it takes 2 weeks to schedule them. I would really like it if we could button this draft up, and I think we can if we schedule that. And then if we can negotiate. Like if there's a week when nobody's available, then we'll just knock that off the schedule.
Great. Do you want to get a little
So
in-room
you guys are
hum
okay
for
with
that? That's okay with the chairs.
Yeah.
This chair, David, you're all right with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
So maybe give a proposal 15th of October.
We're going to do weekly. We'll do weekly in September is the proposal. And we'll let that run. We'll do another show of hands of people interested in joining in. I'll give you guys a few more seconds. Good. Okay, then as we do our next portion, we will schedule the weekly September meetings. Okay. All right, the next portion of our show is our active issue list review and discussion. Usually we'd have Ted, I think, come up to one of the chairs up at the front where we have a microphone. Do you want to do that again, Ted?
Sure, I can do that. Or I could just grab the microphone from the speaker thing. It's up to you guys.
We'll get you on video if you head up and sit beside David. It's up to you.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
We'll leave it to you.
It's not letting me share the screen here. Oh, maybe it's up here. No. Looks like I have to join the other way. This wouldn't be slides.
So Ted, you're using the full client?
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't. All right, so. Yep. So I just requested screen share. Are you seeing that? There it is. Oh, okay, Darren got it. So this is that. Yep. Come on. It consumes a lot of bandwidth when you have the video thing, the video feedback. And so it took a long time to switch. But anyway, here we are. Wow, we still have 35 issues open. Damn. You know, we really need to do these interims because this is a lot of issues. All right, well, is there any reason to choose a particular order, or should I just start from the top since that's easy? Okay. All right. So,
yeah.
Well, that's, yeah. Yeah, can you hear me any better?
Yeah, this is better. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe I should add some things here.
Can I zoom in?
So Ted, you asked about the order of the issues.
Yeah.
So I've marked a couple of them as editorial.
Okay.
So these are maybe not for here, at least. These are not the difficult ones, I would say.
Yeah.
So there are some issues. I think most of them came from the review of Fernando of the draft that he did early this year,
Right.
last year.
Yeah.
So I think there are some good comments in there as well.
Do we? Yeah. So I mean, there's one that you added. Do you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, that's fine. I think I did raise that before on the list as well.
Yeah.
So this is indeed about prefix delegation. So the SNAC router will request a prefix, and it's possible that it will get basically multiple options. I think that was the context. So there can be ULA prefixes that can be delegated, or
Yep.
delegation from a ULA prefix that the CE router has, for example, or a global prefix that it had got assigned from the ISP. And then the SNAC router will have to make a choice what to do. I think the issue is that, yeah, the Stub network might be a rather constrained network, like a mesh network, for example, 6LoWPAN based, something like Thread, and there's no capacity to have all the prefixes delegated there and configure many addresses based on that. So ideally, there would be a choice that the SNAC router has to make. So which one to delegate? So do I delegate the GUA in the Stub network or the ULA? So that makes a big difference in terms of what devices can do with that address, of course. So the ULA is then supposedly more stable, which is also good, reduces churn in the network management. And the GUA has the benefit that you can talk to the internet potentially if that's not blocked further.
Yep.
So that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a hard question. I think my instinct, and I don't know how other people feel here about this, is that we should fail in the direction of better functionality, and that would mean the GUA, because so the GUA might be firewalled, in which case it won't actually work to communicate with the internet, but the SNAC router probably isn't going to be able to tell. And so it has to make some kind of judgment. And I think the GUA is more likely to produce the correct behavior in more cases. But as you say, the downside to that is that, for example, on like a thread network, if we have a GUA that is being renumbered frequently, every renumbering event is going to cause a great deal of congestion on the thread network because every SRP client now has to re-register with its new address. So for the constrained case, there's definitely a cost to choosing the GUA. But I think all things being equal, that's the safer choice, and maybe maybe it's worth just talking about mitigations on the you know, like not something we need to do here because SNAC doesn't do thread, but in the thread group we can figure out if there's a way that we can sort of make the process less painful.
Yeah, maybe adding that from the SNAC point of view, the SNAC router could also do delegation from both prefixes, and then the devices on the Stub network can make their choice. That is fine in general. I think Thread only had the specific problem that the network data size is limited, so it doesn't want to put too many of those prefixes, preferably just one in the network data, to leave space for other items that have to fit in there. But that's just technology specific constraint, more or less. So maybe that's not even in SNAC scope, but we could define the rules like if there is a choice to be made, then use this recommended choice, basically.
Yeah, there's also a whole big can of worms here regarding provisioning domains, because if you've got a multi-homed network that the SNAC router is connecting to, then you might have multiple GUAs, multiple ULAs, hopefully not multiple ULAs, but possibly. then source address selection and dest address selection on the SNAC net become an interesting question, which is somewhat unsolved at this point. So I don't think we can solve the problem in this document, but we should make sure, if possible, and there's somebody standing behind you who may know more about this, that we should make sure that we don't screw it up.
So in V6 ops, what we did for this problem is in the new RFC for PD on the LAN, the GUA is first. We have a requirement that says the GUA, if you're giving out ULA and global prefixes, that the GUA should be listed first in the DHCP packets, with the idea that constrained devices, or, you know, take the top one, we're giving you some advice. You can always take both or all of them, but we were sort of guessing that people would want to take the GUAs. So that would be my advice. I also would not recommend, if you can avoid giving them all multiple addresses, because that does not seem to be going well for devices that have to choose source addresses and how to route them and insert long 6-man conversation.
Well, so yeah, I suppose if you have a source address that's 100% incompatible with the destination address, you have an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric Vank, no hat here. I would as well go to the GUA, but did you think about using the preferred and the valid lifetime to select the prefix having the largest preferred lifetime?
Well, actually, that's a good differentiator. Maybe if the GUA lifetime is relatively short, we don't prefer it, but if it's relatively long, we do, and use that as a way to decide. Because, yeah, if we've got a GUA that's got a weak lifetime, we might as well use it. But if it's advertising a 30-minute lifetime, even if the ULA is advertising a 30-minute lifetime too, our expectation is the ULA is probably going to get renewed and the GUA might not. So maybe we, in that case, would use the ULA. But that's, I mean, one thing to say about this particular discussion is that for the case of SNAC in the abstract, forgetting about the one existing use case of SNAC that we have, in the abstract, SNAC is just Wi-Fi to Wi-Fi, and so we can just do both. So there's no real issue. It's only in the thread case that it's really an issue. And in the thread case, I think you're right. This is a good way to differentiate. And we could put some text in here that says in a constrained setting, you may want to do this, but I don't know that we can really place requirements here because, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to add a note because that was a really good observation.
Jenny, go, quick comment. I'm kind of a bit scared about using lifetime as a differentiator because short lifetime might be just a safety net for an operator to deal with renumbering cases. So for example, I'm advertising very short lifetime for prefixes to make sure that if anything happens in the network, right, hosts do not stuck with addresses. So I think it's perfectly fine to have short lifetime for, as long as you're sending arrays often enough, right? So relatively short lifetime is probably relative to how often you get an array, right? Not to lifetime of other prefixes. So like, I'm not sure like you can tell anything from lifetime absolute value. It's just a matter of like operational practices here.
Eric Mag again. I would be surprised though if, let's say, Deutsche Telekom or whatever is putting a lifetime of half an hour. If you're changing the prefix as he was doing years ago, maybe still now, I would put a lifetime of 1 day because it induces some load, right, on the DHCP server if the need to renegotiate your prefix every time. Yeah, it may depend.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to say about this is that if we have flash renumbering, that's just bad and we can't do anything about it. So one thing we could do is we could have the stub router notice if a particular infrastructure is doing flash renumbering on a regular basis and adjust its behavior on that basis. So in other words, not actually relying on the lifetime, but simply the observed behavior. But in the case that flash renumbering is not happening, the other thing we can do is we can actually ameliorate this problem by just noticing that we're renumbering, and so doing some kind of renumbering process on the constrained network to say, look, the address that you have right now is perfectly fine, but next time you send an SRP update, use this new prefix. So anyway. Okay, so I think that captures that. Is there anything else we need to talk about on this? Okay. All right, so now we're skipping editorial. Thank you for marking we as editorial. I agree. So rationale for values. Okay, so we already discussed this. Actually, let's start with the ones that don't have comments. So yeah, so here there's some text that says that if there's a guest network and your SNAC router is added to a guest network, and by guest network we mean a network that doesn't allow station-to-station communication on the link, basically, or particularly station-to-station communication between the link and the sort of non-guest link, then we say no communication will be possible. And what we mean is that no local communication will be possible, I think. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it was a review comment by Fernando, and there was a bit of confusion. So his idea was like, okay, there's no communication possible from the guest network to the main network.
Yeah.
But what you meant is probably that even within the guest network, you can't talk to any of the other devices attached to the same guest network. So
yeah,
could be clarified a bit.
Yeah. Okay.
I think
So
that's the idea.
Yeah, I think I'm going to propose that we change the text to say no local communication will be possible, and maybe add even though communication with the internet should be possible, or
yeah,
or
that would
this
be
will
more
allow
clear.
communication with the internet but not with local devices, maybe.
Yeah. So we assume that a device-to-device local communication is also shielded on that guest network. So it's not the guest network is, I think the assumption here that you made is that the guest network is not the same as a regular Wi-Fi home network. It's really, kind of extra firewalled or separated so that each client can only talk to the internet, but not to other clients.
Yeah, I think
That's a kind of assumption. That's
yeah. I think I'm not convinced that we actually care too much about the communication between guest network clients. I mean, yes, it's true the guest network might prevent that. It might also not prevent that. Either way, the main point is that you have a home network sort of self-configuring infrastructure, and if you connect a SNAC router to the guest network, it will not be participating in that infrastructure. So, like, for example, if you had a thread border router and you connected it to your guest network, you wouldn't be able to control the lights.
Right, yeah. But
Yeah.
if you connect two SNAC routers to your guest network and some client as well, then they could form their own little SNAC network, basically, on the guest network. But that depends on how the guest network is configured. So I think that that was what the comment was about. So you have different assumptions in your mind, like how does this network work?
Yeah.
And
So I guess
what is possible.
I guess the question is how much detail do we need to go into here? Because we certainly could go into full detail, right? There could be, the guest network could be isolating all hosts, or it could be not isolating all hosts, in which case, in the isolating all host case, you can't communicate with anything locally. In the not isolating all host case, you can communicate with local guest devices, which isn't very useful. for some cases, but maybe for other cases, like if you have a personal area network, maybe that's what you want. But I'm not sure how useful it is to deeply clarify that, because really, it's what's going to happen is going to happen. The main point is that we want to make sure that people don't mistakenly configure a stub router on a guest network thinking that it'll work the way that they probably, the sort of the usual way that they would expect it to work. Eric has a comment.
Yep. What okay.
Eric Weinstein, no head. I think I read the text, the second paragraph on this appendix. I think it's pretty clear.
Okay.
So I would completely ignore this comment. I say thank you for the comment or something, right? But
Okay, fair. I mean, one thing to say about this is that I definitely got the sense that Fernando's comments were not made with a clear understanding of what stub networks, what SNAC networks are, which doesn't make them not useful, but it does mean that things like what you just said, Eric, may also be the case for other issues that are raised. Okay. So. Sorry? I said disagree. You disagree with? Oh, okay, fair. Sorry, I don't mean to. Yeah. No, I mean, I thought that the comments were really helpful. It's just that I got the sense from some of them that there was a lack of clarity, which actually is also useful to know, right? Because if he's reading the document and he doesn't have full clarity about what we're doing, that may be a flaw in the document that we should address. So,
I did. Yeah, this one, I issued a pull request for this one. You can take a look at it. I think it was a pretty simple kind of change being requested or noted. I had totally forgotten about that RFC.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like kind of a distraction to mention this, because I don't really think that there is such a thing as an IP4 node that would actually work with this.
I can answer that.
Yay.
We do implement that, and we are about to remove it because nobody uses it.
Okay.
David Lamparter was my name.
Thank you, David. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I remember back in the day, we used to also use, there was a routing protocol that RIP, router, I can't remember anymore, but mostly RIP was something we complained about quite a bit, and ultimately we switched to using DHCP for all that stuff, and life got a lot better, which is kind of scary. So I guess I feel like this is a distraction. I mean, yes, it's true that this could maybe work, but I think that we already have a way to do this that works. And sort of the IETF policy generally is that we're not doing new work in IPv4. And so I think specifying or talking about how to solve this problem in an IPv4 only way is sort of not that useful.
I think the only real suggestion here was that, hey, stub networks rely on IPv6 to enable routing between links, instead of which would not be possible with IPv4 due to the lack of standard mechanisms similar to router advertisement, is just say due to the lack of standard or broadly implemented solution like router advertisement, see RFC 1256. That's what the pull request says if you read that text.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Let me know if there's already a pull request for something, because I haven't.
Yeah, it was right there. I thought maybe you saw it.
Oh.
So it's just scroll down a little bit. You see it right in the context of that issue.
Yeah, maybe we should actually look at the pull request first.
Comment?
Yeah.
So isn't it just out of scope for this working group to do V4?
That's true too. But I mean, you know, that doesn't mean that we can ignore v4 in the document. So I mean, and indeed, we do actually support v4 in a sense because we support NAT64. So,
Actually, it does. You can definitely ignore v4. This is a v6 thing. Just you have enough stuff to do.
yeah. Practically speaking, when we're shipping products that have to work on networks that have IPv4 on them, etc. So replace the hard-coded /64 with SLAC suitability. Oops, this is not going to do it. Okay, so the change that's being proposed here is instead of
Simple.
saying prefix length is 64, we say it's suitable for SLAC. I will say I actually do not agree with this change. And it's not that I think the change is wrong. It's that I think that an implementer who reads this is going to say, okay, I have no idea what that number is. So the reason we said prefix length value is 64 is because that's actually what we generally mean. So for example, we certainly don't want a prefix that's, you know, well, I can't claim to be in any way expert or authoritative on this, but what happened?
I think we just lost your screen share. It'll
So I see.
just require.
Yeah, so I feel like this is sort of more correct in a way, but I think it's going to potentially create problems for the implementer. So I think we should try to come up with a way to word this that doesn't create problems for the implementer. I'm not saying that we shouldn't say this, but where'd that go?
Hey, this looks nice.
Yeah, Esco, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe I can just add to that. So the /64, let's say hard-coded, that works if your stub network technology needs the /64 for the address configuration of the devices. And I think all the cases we had in mind, that is the case. So it's always a /64. I don't know if even if there are other cases, but yeah, somehow you would have to say like suitable for the SNAC networks technology auto configuration with SLAC. And by the way, this is 64 for all the cases we are considering now. There's something like that you would have to say to make it fully correct.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we need to tweak this a little bit. I think it's the right suggestion, but it needs to be maybe just in the paragraph that's talking about, you know, the various values that we set. Like it says preferred lifetime of 30 minutes or more. We can also say for most use cases, the correct prefix length value will be 64 or something like that.
Yep. So mention both of the things. Basically, yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, Ted, I put in a comment in there from one of my drafts that went around this issue.
Okay.
And my text ended up being just prefix length of 64 as supported. Prefix length of 64 is used to match the current length supported by SLAC to run around this issue.
Where does it say this?
That's good text.
Yeah, I dropped it in the comments section, maybe.
I'm not seeing it. Is it in the comment here, or is it maybe on an issue?
It's on the issue. Sorry, I put it on the issue. Sorry.
So my clever plan to switch to the pull request failed.
Yeah, I can drop it in the pull request too. That's easy for me to do. I'll do that next.
Okay. Well, I actually took a note, but I didn't propose text, so it'd be great if you could propose text, or maybe just.
Yeah, I'll drop that text.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a way to update the pull request, but ideally, if you could just update the pull request, is that okay, Darren?
Yeah, that's preferred. Just to make the comment in the pull request, and I'll just say accept, and it's done.
Okay, I'll do that right now.
Great. Thanks. Okay. And we've lost the thingy again. So now we'll get to do the video feedback. thing again. This is going to be exciting. I wonder why we keep losing it. No, well, there isn't a way to share a tab. Yeah, I shared a window. I can't. Yeah, I can't do that. Yeah. Oops. Well, it said there was an error, so let's try this again. So it's supposed to ask. It says a publishing error occurred. Retrying. I'm going to hit reload. Oh, here's a clue. I wonder if there's something going on with the network. Darren's face is still moving, so it looks like the network is functional.
Yeah, the network is, but is the Wi-Fi? That's always the question. Who has a hotspot in their pocket that you could turn off?
This is pretty weird. Oh, looks like I switched to IETF Hotel. That might explain all of the issues that I've been having. Well, so what? Hopefully we're using HTTPS. Yeah, it's very, very secure. Nobody's ever going to guess. Okay. Let's try this. So I've requested a screen share. There we go. Yes. Okay, now we get the video feedback. Come on, you can do it. There we go. All right, so we already did this one, right? Okay, so convert hard-coded 30-bit minute value to constant. Min suitable. This looks good. By the way, there's been some discussion about this in, I think, 6man. And there's a debate as to whether 30 minutes is the right number here. That's the number we're currently using. But it's possible that, I can't remember what, I think the number 45 might have been bandied about as better. So I'm okay with just leaving this way, but we may get pushback. But in any case, I think this is a fine edit. Can we just approve this? All right, no objections heard, so I'm going to approve it if I can figure out how.
Well, Ted,
Yes.
I might be the only voice speaking against this, and if so, then that's fine. You can overrule me. I'm not a fan of changing explicit text to some symbol that you then have to search in the document to find out what it means. It just makes it a treasure hunt to understand what's going on. You do this in software. Like if you make this all capitals constant with underscores a hash define, then you can change it in one place and recompile the program. But this is a standard, and everybody has to do the same thing. It's not something where you can just change the constant to something else if you feel like it. So I don't see the benefit in making it easy to change something that you're never supposed to change.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with that sentiment. I think the rationale is actually the same as for a manifest constant, which is that we might use this in more than one place and we might change it during the editorial process. And so therefore, if we use the manifest constant, we can be sure that we don't make a mistake and only change it in one place. That said, yeah.
I mean,
one
that's
thing
the
to say about-
responsibility. That's the responsibility on the document editors to proofread their document carefully and make sure it doesn't contradict itself. But I find in terms of readability, when you have to keep thumbing to the appendix at the back to decode what a sentence means, and that makes it much harder to read.
Fair. Yeah, I also highly sympathize with your, yeah, I think it would be nice if there were a way to actually make it a manifest constant. Yeah, I don't know. What
If we're worried about mistakes in the editing process, you know, maybe we could have a constant in parentheses that we remove in Auth 48, and it's kind of a placeholder.
Yeah, that's true too. Esko, what do you think?
So I wanted to comment here. So the proposed PR has a default value of 30 minutes, which suggests that an implementation could actually change that, or somebody who does do some administration on the device could set it to like 50 minutes if they want to. So that's the suggestion. And then you need this constant approach. If we say, well, it's fixed and you can never change it, not even within an administrator interface, then it would be okay to do it in the text, although that's a personal preference. So I'm editor of specification that always uses the named constants, and you can then just do Control F to go through the documents, and you also find all the other places where it's used. So that's one of the advantages. If you're kind of studying that topic, you will do a find, go through the entire document. You also see the other places where it's used. And if you have to do a search for 30 minutes or 30, then that might not work as well. So that's one of the things. So if you're implementing a spec or studying it a lot, then these names can also help basically to find where else is it used. If it's only in one place, yeah, I can imagine you would rather stick the value there. But I think the main question is, do we want it to be default, or do we want it to be absolutely fixed? That will determine the choice here.
So I actually don't think that makes sense, because it doesn't actually imply fixedness to say 30 minutes or more, which is what the text currently says. But I think, actually, let me propose a compromise and see how people feel about this. We could do exactly what you said, which I think makes sense, which is to say min suitable preferred lifetime, parentheses, default 30 minutes, close parentheses. Get rid of or more, because that's actually, well, actually, no,
it needs to be or more, yeah.
Well, so if we have a place where we're defining it, then we should say, you know, in min suitable preferred lifetime, minimum.
If I can, sorry, Ted, if I could just jump in for a moment, because I think there are two parts to this. One was, what is the value? So it's 30 minutes or more, right? So it's a minimum. Yep. This is the only place in the document where there's a value that's not provided as a constant. So to be consistent within this document, you want to provide this as a constant with a name. Yep. But then the other part was the description that's down below to say, you know, what if it's shorter, or, you know, why 30? So there was a request for some discussion on the 30-minute value there as well, as far as I remember from the comment. Yeah. So
what I would love to have here is, if you click on min suitable preferred lifetime, you go to that text. I'm not sure that's possible for a list like that, but if it is, maybe we could do that. And if it's not, maybe we should just separate this out into subsections and put an anchor tag on each subsection, and then we can have links.
Yeah, it could link to it in the HTML version. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, though, is that I think it does make sense to say, you know, default 30 minutes in the text in parentheses after you've specified the constant value, because, as Stuart says, it is kind of nice to not have to leaf around all the time. But on the other hand, I mean, you know, it's modern times. We have HTML, we have links. So if we make that a link, I think that somewhat addresses his concern, although I happen to know that Stuart likes reading paper copies of documents, so that wouldn't help him. Oops.
Okay.
So anyway, I think that what I'd like to suggest is maybe we can add another issue. I don't think this is very difficult. Somebody just needs to figure out how to do it, but add another issue that says all of the constants that are defined here should actually have a reference link so that we don't force people to scroll around to find the values. So I will do that now. Issue.
Maybe just adding for usability, if you look at these documents today in browsers, you can just double click the named constants and then do Control F, and it will automatically fill in constants, so you can very quickly jump around. But that doesn't work on paper, of course. But it's really quick if you use it that way.
One of the terrible flaws of paper. Control F doesn't work. Of course, you're giving away the fact that you use the scary Windows machine by saying you're using Control F.
I do read things on paper, but I would say even reading online, it just makes me feel like reading a novel that says person 3 met person 7 in place 17, and you have to keep looking in the appendix at the back to find out what those mean. It just, like every time you got to look somewhere else to find what something means, it's disrupting your flow of reading. But on the other hand, I also big fan of consistency. If we're using symbols in other places in the document, then we should be consistent.
Yep. Yeah. And also, I mean, like, I have to say that I feel like so, erudite when I have to go read everything in the footnotes. So just kidding. Yeah, it comes from having academic parents. Let's see. So reader must scroll through the document. So let's add reference links to all of these constants to address that issue. So the reason that I'm not quite siding with you on this, Stuart, is that I think that the reason that that Darren gave for why he made the change the way he did is a good one, which is that we now have a place in the text where we clearly explain all of the details of that constant. We could do that. We could just put that in line, but since we're not doing that for other stuff, that's a big change, and we should. I mean, we could have a discussion about whether we want to do that, but I don't get the sense that there's a lot of enthusiasm for that in the room. So, by the way, thanks for being here at the crack of dawn, or before. I mean, Darren is up early, but I think you're up even earlier.
Well, it's the crack of 1 a.m. here, so I haven't even gone to
so
bed
you're
yet.
late.
Good job.
Exactly.
Okay, so, we've got another pull request. What happened? Okay. Well, let's see what Darren's proposal is here.
Sorry, I was talking on mute. I'd say this one's for discussion. I don't know that it's any good.
Okay, that's fair. All right, so when multiple prefixes are available for delegation, okay, it shouldn't be a must because it's perfectly fine if the SNAC router just relays them all, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that's wrong. But I think I think the multiple prefixes problem is really, I mean, maybe I'm being naive here, but I think it's mostly just an issue of, So one thing you could say is we should make a decision as to whether the SNAC router should select a particular egress router on the infrastructure network. And that's a thing that might be applicable in all cases, because we're possibly concerned that source destination address selection will produce incompatible pairs if we advertise prefixes from multiple routers.
Yeah. So
but
I'm gonna.
But I don't think that's actually an issue, because the SNAC router is going to select the egress router, and the SNAC router knows which router advertised the prefix and should be able to select the correct router.
Yeah. Yeah, I would not look at this pull request yet, Ted. I would go on to the next and let me hack away at this a little more.
All right.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay, so we just did the hard coded thing. So the change is, as part of the standard IPv6 router behavior on the infrastructure, a SNAC router must join the all routers multicast, receive router solicitations, and must join the all nodes multicast. Okay, so that's just some clarification. For each suitable.
Yeah, that other part should have made it in there. That was from a different thing. I'll delete that.
Right. Why did we say suitable route here? That doesn't even make sense. Okay.
Yeah, I think it just should have been suitable prefix, right? Yeah, and the others, yeah. I think I mixed two things here with the discussion of the multicast. Yeah, I did. So this one shouldn't have that other text in it. It's only the router and prefix. I'll change that and update it.
Okay. Is there another pull request with other stuff in it?
There is, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe you'll update this pull request to just take
I will, yeah.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
But yeah.
So I think that's a good change. I'm not sure why I mean, it's probably just a brain glitch. Okay. So I thought we had a conversation about the M&O flags and decided that we couldn't really do anything, and that we were just going to copy whatever the most recent one we saw was, and if they're different, too bad.
David Lamparter. We also looked at this for the multi-homing, multi-prefix, same link scenario, and as soon as you have the M bit set, you kind of are in a situation where you can't do anything sensible because it just doesn't support the situation.
So are you saying that we should always clear the M bit?
That's a bit I don't know.
Well, I mean, yeah, so this is actually, so this is router advertising we're sending on infrastructure. Yeah, I mean, I thought we had, it was last IETF or the one before, we had a long conversation about this, and we concluded that we really couldn't behave correctly here. And so this is a lot of text.
Yeah, so this was just the I think as it was documented was correct. The ask was, hey, clarify how this scenario that you said that we say we're not going to allow might have happened if we were to allow it, or what might the problem have been if we allowed it. This just documents that scenario. It doesn't change the decision that was made in the last meeting. So if you go back to the issue that was open and read what Fernando had written, that might clarify the ask. We don't need to do the ask. We don't need to do anything about it. You could delete this pull request.
So this is an appendix?
Yes, it's in the appendix. Yeah, just explanatory text.
Do we have a link here to the
issue?
It doesn't look like it.
If you go back to the conversation, should be.
conversation.
Yeah. And 111 in the summary.
All right, so after max flag copy time, this router must go back to the regular behavior defined above. Oh, this is so complicated. So, do people want to examine this issue here in the room, or is this something we just need to read offline and see if we understand the problem and agree with the proposed solution?
I think, Scott Dijk here, I think the question was more about the scenario. So what if the rules that we define in SNAC are not defined, or that rule, suppose it was not present, yeah, what would happen in that case? So
Right.
I thought it was maybe confusing to add this as an example in the main text, because it's not supposed to happen because we have that rule.
Yeah.
So you'd rather not mention it, but if we must, then it would be an appendix, explaining kind of what problem that rule is solving in more detail. But it's important to know that it's I think if the rule is applied correctly, then the scenario should not happen.
Yeah. So my reaction to this is, and Tim may have some more to say. My reaction to this is that I really want to read the pull request in detail and figure out whether I believe that it's actually making things better. I suspect that it may be making things better. So my inclination is to want to accept it, but I have to read it first, and I haven't done that yet. What do you say, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to want to say some words around this. I think leaving it out is going to lead to the problem that we keep having with these two flags.
Yeah, because it seems like this gets discussed in various working groups all over the place, and there isn't a document that says, and maybe this is just an inappropriate place to even say it, but somebody should say, like, this is the problem, here's why it's hard, here's what you should do.
Yeah, I mean, we have seen some CE routers now that are flipping the mbits, which are causing all kinds of problems where clients are restarting their DHCP servers, the thing they're not supposed to do. And so I don't know what the answer is. We've been avoiding this problem for a long time, but anything I think you can say here would help. I can't see a situation other than not saying anything that would make it worse.
Okay. All right, so I am going to take an action item to review this text. I think we should discuss this on the mailing list once everybody here who is interested in reviewing the text has done so, maybe in a week or so, and then we can decide whether or not to apply the pull request or to approve the pull request, because I feel like I'm not going to be able to do it justice up here in front of the room.
Sounds good.
Yeah. What's our time situation?
40 minutes left.
40 minutes?
Yeah.
12.
What?
Do we have other business
12?
we need to talk about after this? Okay. Great. All right. So we'll keep going. All right. So I'm frustrated that we haven't approved any of these pull requests, but I think this has been a useful exercise anyway. I hope it has. So add multi-AIL scenario and diagrams. Ooh.
That's a big one.
I think this is going to be another one we're going to have to review on the mailing list.
Yeah.
Ooh, nice diagram. Well done.
I didn't draw these, by the way. You guys know that. So
Somebody did.
this is all friendly AI.
Oh, this is AI?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to read a lot more carefully then.
But the scenarios look correct, so I think they're worth reviewing
Okay. So
in detail.
yeah, I mean, I feel like again, this is like too much text to review in front of the working
Yeah.
group. And so we'll talk about this offline. We can.
Let's not do that.
Yeah, we might regret that later. Okay, correct IPv4 router. We already talked about the issue, I think.
Yeah, which was this one?
Limited availability.
Yeah. So my thinking on this was, you mentioned the RFC and said it's basically not implemented, then that takes away the incorrect statement that v4 had nothing. Or leave it the way it was and
Yeah, no, I think
ignore the v4. Yeah.
I think this is a good enough change that we could actually approve this one now. How do people feel about this? I am not hearing objections. Is that because nobody objects or because nobody's sure? If you're like unsure and would like to not approve it, please raise your hand or hum or something. Okay. I guess we'll say yes then. Is there a way to approve? Okay. So, yay. We did something. No, but it's been useful discussing these other ones, so I don't think this has been a waste. So on the NAT64 state machine, we actually had some useful, we had a long discussion on that. And also some good editorial work from Darren, thank you. So the discussion on this that I think is important to mention in the working group is that it's this bit here, which is we talk about the router advertisements in NAT64 as if the NAT64 state machine is responsible for monitoring and maybe doing router solicits and stuff like that. But that really doesn't make sense because we need router advertisements for other uses as well. And so that means that we actually need an RA state machine, which is another edit we're going to have to do. And also to think about how to integrate that RA state machine into the other state machines that we talk about here, because I think we talk about that in other places. So that'll make the document a little clearer, I think. We don't want to get into a situation where we have like 5 state machines that are all doing, you know, all sending router solicits. That would be bad. I don't think we have an action item here, but I just wanted to call it to the attention of the working group. If anybody has any comments about that or wants to do that work, that would be great. Otherwise, I will take it on as part of my, this is my pull request, which I have to update. So if nobody else wants to do that, I will do it. I'm not hearing eager people running up to the microphone saying they'll do it. Damn it. That's okay. All right, so add diagram. Ooh. All right, so this updates the edit date of the document, which is not ideal, but so there's some changes, Wi-Fi to Y-Fi, and then here we go. Sample SNAC router aware infrastructure network. I'm just trying to figure out what the context of this is. So what does the comment say? Yeah, so add a diagram for the review, how to show more than one AL. Branch has conflicts. Okay. There are network configurations where SNAC router will not work in analysis. Oh, okay, this is that section. All right. So a sample SNAC router aware infrastructure network. So Stub Network attached to SNAC by SNAC routers to the infrastructure. So there's a few editorial changes we need to make here. But The infrastructure router with the scope of the specification is IPv6 aware, provides different services, can be a CE home. SNAC router will connect to any other device. This document describes mechanisms for connecting all of the use case described below is specific to home networks. SNAC router receives and manages IPv6 prefix from the infrastructure router. Okay. So this text that was added, I'm a little confused by. Okay, so we've got two stub networks. We've got a single AIL and we've got infrastructure devices. And certainly the diagram is good. I have to think about this text. I'm a little confused. Yeah, so it's good that we're looking at this. I apologize for not having done more work on this in the interim. It's just this particular period from March to July is one of the busiest times at Apple. But the reason that we're scheduling the interims is because we really, really, really want to get this done. So hopefully we can do a little bit of homework prior to the next interim, and I will do some homework and try to come up with, I think this pull request may need some edits. So I will look at this pull request, suggest any edits, bring it up on the mailing list. We've got a number of pull requests to bring up on the mailing list. And so I would appreciate it if folks here could participate in that conversation so that it's not just me, because this is, you know, it's helpful to get sanity checks. And I know, Esco, you'll call me on it if I screw up. So I trust you, but hopefully there's other people who will help as well. So that if we can get, like, I'd like to try and get all of these pull requests addressed before our first interim, and then we can be doing fresh stuff at the first interim. So I'm going to try and do my part in that, and if everybody else will participate, then life will be good. We're pretty much out of time, so yeah. Is there any last words from the chairs?
That is, I'm going to jump in for 1 second. Tuesdays in September, weekly meetings. Ted, are you in California? Or
no, I'm in the Netherlands.
Okay, so okay. For some reason I thought you were back in the U.S. Okay, good. All right, so it'll be midday in Europe.
Okay.
I'll schedule them for. Does that sound
do you have
okay?
Anybody who's in an Asian time zone here who wants to participate? They're probably not here, or maybe they're here. Maybe they're physically here. But yeah, so I think if afternoon works for me. I mean, you don't need to torture the California people. I can come late. I guess there are some other European people, so maybe, but we're all kind of used to this. So,
okay.
What's that? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay,
right?
Great. Yeah, we'll book it. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks.
David, anything else?
Not really. I think we are on time.
Perfect. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, I think he just, I mean, not his job to keep track of where I live. And I work for Apple, so of course he assumes I live in California. So I